Nihilism or reality is under threat, people, from denialism. This is fabulous. I love this. I'm capturing this. I'm going to let you listen to a little bit and connect a link to a morning show called The Sunday Edition with Michael Enright, the voice for the man. He's like Smug-a-Doug. He's like Mr. Philosophy in the CBC. He's erudite. He is intelligent. And he regurgitates all the usual stories for us so that lest we forget that reality is a certain way, and we got to filter your reality all the time. And what I find fabulous here is that I think there is through the internet, this comes up in this discussion, like I say, I'll leave a link, they're really feeling quite threatened with their perception of reality. And the word belief comes up several times, even in terms of consensual science. There is the word belief system attached to it that once that is threatened, people feel very uncomfortable, but it's still a belief system according to this fellow who's being interviewed. He is an academic. Keith Kahn Harris, somewhere in the States, has written a book called Denial, the Unspeakable Truth. And I find this very encouraging, people, that anyone who is out there who understands that the world is not what it appears to be, especially the one being promoted through consensual belief systems, also known as science, and it comes up over and over. So there is a discussion about, obviously, the poster child is climate change. It's no longer global warming, it's climate change. And I'm certainly not denying that the climate is changing. On the contrary, the climate is changing. The question is, what is at the root of the climate change? Like, we have these incredible fires going on in the west of our continent, of North America, in California and British Columbia. It is quite amazing. And there's a wonderful YouTuber that I really like. She's called NEVERLOSETRUTH. She's put out some fabulous suggestions, ideas about what is going on out there with low energy, ultra low energy frequencies that are actually propagating the fires possibly. And you know, we are under threat. My position is we are under threat. You don't have to watch this stupid guy's mug. I'll change to my free radical picture. You don't have to go too far to realize in the scheme of things aren't working. Anyone that's still on board with the idea that life is wonderful, you know, Doris Day, father knows best, mother knows best kind of feeling, if there is still this sentiment within you, I feel sorry for you, actually, because the world is not working. And the reason it's not working isn't because there is a bunch of humans out there that are fucking everything up, like 7 billion supposedly, doing all the wrong things all the time, and the people that produce the shit we use have no responsibility in disposing of it properly. Oh yes, you can recycle, but you can't recycle a whole bunch of stuff that's not on their list. Anyway, my point is, people in general are not the problem, although we contribute to something that is not working. What is the true problem that me, a denialist, is bringing up is that we're being run by the ownership, a few people that are benefiting at our expense, the suffering, the enormous suffering. And that doesn't mean things aren't happening around us, like the denialists are trying to, what is that? They're throwing in real issues with false issues, straw man. I suppose the Holocaust comes up, and Holocaust denial, and something that is so obviously ridiculous to put forward. People weren't murdered by the Nazis. Every type of individual, from gays to religious groups, to Jews, to gypsies, to foreigners that were targeted, to the mentally disabled, to the physically challenged, they were all under threat under the Nazi regime. It was an exercise to see how far they could go. And I don't know why somebody stopped it. Obviously, I guess it was called a war, so somebody wins. But if they'd had their way, the depopulation would have continued for another 20 years, and there would have been success. And maybe the rest of the world wouldn't have to been destroyed through the nuclear pollution that we're now facing. The largest elephant in the room is nuclear pollution. And all the isotopes that come out of this industry is being used to create ultra-low frequency weapons. This is why this industry was begun in the first place. So I'm a denier. I say that vaccines are dangerous because they've not proven what they say they have. They bring up AIDS as the antiviral retro drugs that everyone died from, but they still maintain that this actually improved the quality of life. So all the evidence is not ever put under scrutiny in a real way. Like this show doesn't have the other side come forward and explain what they mean by denialism. They just bring on somebody and regurgitate the man's view. And underlying it all, suck it up, people, suck it up. You're going to be under threat, so suck it up. And we have our mechanism of disseminating the truth the way we want you to believe, and don't argue. So I'm going to attach this. It's brutal. I mean, the guy is the way he comes across here. Here's the introduction.
This morning from a studio in Houston, Texas.
Let's go from the
beginning.
Hello,
and thank you for joining. Keith Harris joins me this morning from a studio in Houston, Texas. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
What is denialism?
Well, denialism is an extension of something that we all do. We all deny. There are all things that human beings cannot face because they're too difficult, too painful, too troubling to face.
Yeah, like how about how the world really isn't working, how things aren't working, but you know, anything we can't face turns into denialism rather than a healthy, honest response in every human being that is being subjugated and destroyed. That sincerity in a person is being eradicated because you want to stick to a belief system that you bring up in this. And people, I'm not going to run this whole thing. You have to listen to it yourself. And what else can I say? I want to hear this voice a little more.
And that's very normal within certain degrees. But denialism takes it much further. It turns this private capacity of human beings to deny into a kind of public dogma.
Oh, this is beautiful. And of course, it comes back to the internet where now people that I love, people of conscience, are to some extent having a voice, not a big voice, well, some bigger than others, but generally speaking, it's still not very ubiquitous, this sense of having our voice heard, people that don't want to go along with what's not working. So, but what is, okay, just to wrap it up, what I really like about this is that they really do feel threatened by these small voices coming out and saying, you know what, we need to look at ourselves and truly question what's going on around us. And everything is on the table, and don't listen to what the official stories are. The way Liam Sheff, a brilliant guy on the AIDS crisis, supposedly, who came out and definitively showed with evidence that this thing was fabricated. An autoimmune deficiency is basically all of illness. And what they wanted to do is ascribe a certain virus to when you get sick and get sick violently. And we know that AIDS was in the gay community primarily because of the rampant use of drugs and toxicities that were increased to such a level that, yes, it appeared to be an epidemic among a certain group, but it was just the level of toxicity was so high that the body couldn't fight it anymore. And they created more toxins by giving you the antiviral retro drug stuff. So that's just one example. And the vaccines with its adjuvants proven to be really, really dangerous. So I'm just pointing out this thing. You can listen to it yourself. If you want to see the charlatan, the voice of the man rearing its ugly head, and we're under threat. This is my position. We, as a species that is still feeling the connection to each other, never mind the hyenas and reptiles that function on a gratification level, whatever they can get away with, there is still a proportion of the population that actually has some empathy and sympathy towards another. This natural feeling in all of us, based on what I love, is called conscience. Something that is quite sleepy in most people as I perceive it, but this is still alive. We haven't given up on this. It's sort of like Terminator. There is a possibility that there are still people around us that feel like me, that feel like you, that have a stake at being alive. We have a stake at not just gratifying ourselves, but we have a stake at creating a future. But denialism is a big threat to the future that these reptiles are being attacked on by our people of conscience. People of conscience. Yeah, they're a threat. They're a real threat these days. And I love this when this came up this morning, that the CBC, the Voice for the Man, paid by the public, is again propagating another one of these Malcolm Gladwell types who they'll disappear into obscurity with all his theories and his outliers and all this shit he was producing and creating a whole buzz, how smart, how academic I am, without any love. They're loveless. These people are listening to this guy. It's a loveless, loveless presentation, and it's perfect. And I showed too much of this guy's ugly mug. Here is my picture at the end, the flowers in front of Vincent going to work. I dedicate the flowers to Vincent, and dedicate yourself to denial. Whatever you do, make sure every day you deny something, because there are so many things that are needing to be questioned. We're in a good position, actually, people. I like it. Now the question is, are these fires, are these programs, the chemtrailing, is it going to be ratcheted up? Are more nuclear plants going to be exploded and poison everything? This is, we have a very limited time span to practice denial. So I encourage everyone to practice exactly what these guys are hoping to discourage. And all the best to all of you. I appreciate you listening to my lowly channel.